everyone. It's your girl V, and welcome to another episode of Mindful Unfoldings. It's a new episode, and I'm actually nervous and excited for today's episode because we've been anticipating it, we've been mentioning it a couple of times, and we found our parent after a very hard search. We found our parents, and we have the beautiful Kifilo today, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself, and you can tell us a bit about yourself and like what you do and how many kids you have before we get into the episode.
Okay, my name is Kifilo Mojaki, and I am from Potchefstroom, Ikageng. I have 3 kids, 22-year-old, which is not a kid anymore, basically.
Yeah, yes.
And I've got a 15-year-old girl, and then I've got an 8-year-old boy. So, yeah, I'm a single mother.
Okay.
I've been raising these kids ever since they were born, basically.
Yeah.
So it's just been me by myself raising these kids. Yeah, so basically that's it about me.
Okay, so to give the viewers an idea of what today's episode is about, but I've briefed you before we also started, I felt like it was important to have an episode where we have a parent, an open-minded parent. I remember when we were searching, what I told Sak, I'm like, it has to be an open-minded parent because some questions most parents will feel like it's uncomfortable or disrespectful to ask.
Okay.
But it's like things we do need to talk about just so we understand the parent-child relationship, especially for us, because we feel like we are lost in translation, most teenagers or early 20s with our parents. So I thought having an episode like this was going to help maybe someone dealing with like a toxic relationship with their parents and not understanding like why they make certain decisions or why you feel like this is best for me, but like I feel like this. So we're gonna dive into it. We're gonna start soft before we go hard. So are you ready?
I am ready, but I was never told I need to be open-minded. But
he didn't tell
I'll
you.
try.
Okay, no, don't worry though. It's not that deep. It's not like deep. Okay, so I think the first question would be, what's the most rewarding thing about being a parent as like a mother of 3? And you are saying you are a single parent. So I'm sure it's challenging. It has like its own challenges because now you're dealing with 3 different personalities, different ages. So before we get into like the nitty gritty of everything, like what's the most like rewarding thing about being a parent?
I think for me, the most rewarding would be seeing my children do well in school, in life, everywhere.
Yes.
So if I see them doing well, for me, that's a reward on its own.
Yeah.
And I think it's a blessing to be a mother. You know, sometimes things don't go well with, obviously the relationship with the father. However, for me, my kids were my reward from God, and I'm happy to have them. I feel blessed to have them. And yes, the reward also comes from seeing them happy and also seeing them doing well in life. For me, that's a reward on its own.
Okay. Are you a strict parent? And if you say strict, what is strict?
I am strict, I think.
Okay.
I am strict because my kids say they are scared of me. Because I have this look that I give when I don't like things,
Yeah.
So I believe I am a strict parent when it's needed.
Okay.
Then I am a strict parent. Otherwise, I'm a very liberal parent. Like we can talk about anything. You can come to me about anything. The one thing that I always tell my kids is, when you're in trouble, you need to always be able to come to me first. I'm the first person. Yes. I'm the first person you need to come to. It doesn't matter what it is. I want them to come to me first.
Yeah. Okay, and then just to move away from the kids and everything that we're going to speak about, I want to know, like, growing up in a Black household, I mean, you were once a teenager, you were once in your 20s, and, like, what was, like, the most challenging thing for you growing up, like, that you faced at home?
Dating. I grew up with a very strict mom.
Yeah.
I was not allowed to date at all.
Really?
Yeah. Even though, I started realizing that I like boys, I think, when I was about 14. I remember my first crush was Tevin Campbell.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And my mom never spoke to me about bees and birds, boys, nothing. You know, she never ever spoke to me about it because she was such a strict parent. And I was always scared to talk to her about it. I remember when I first got my first period, I didn't even know how to use a sanitary pad.
And you couldn't go to her and say,
I was in boarding school at the time, obviously.
Okay.
But yeah, I was helped by, my sister was there and, you know, my other friends obviously were there.
Yeah.
So they helped me. But I think the most challenging thing for me was my strict mother, who I couldn't go to talk about anything as a teenager. And my mom, if she didn't like my friends, or maybe she saw them on the streets with boys, she would definitely come back and say, you're not friends with that person anymore. That was it. Yeah.
So did it change as you grew up? And like, did she like loosen up a bit and be like, okay, she's becoming her own person, she's getting older, or like, was it like worse?
No. Even today, I mean, it doesn't matter whether when I go home, I don't even go out because I'm always stuck to the past. Like, my mother is always strict, so I don't even go anywhere when I go home. I stay home most of the time. I hardly ever, sometimes I do go out, but, you know, the thought that, you know, she's still that strict mother has stuck with me all these years.
Yes.
So I still stay home.
Have you tried having the conversation with her, like, Mom, you're strict, like, loosen up a bit?
Yeah, I think as an adult, it became easier to just say, but you are very strict to them, you know, especially when she complains about my kids or my sister's kid, you know, I would say, but you are very strict. It's not like we will have a conversation, but it's just for me to say, chill out a bit. Yeah.
So then you said that the most difficult thing to speak to your mom was dating.
Yeah.
So with your kids, I mean, you have a 22-year-old and a 15-year-old. So when now do you think is the appropriate time for her to start dating and for you to have that conversation with her? Because, I mean, you saying your first crush at 14, right? So when do you think is an appropriate age for her to come to you and be like, Mom, I have a crush on a boy. I think I like a boy.
I mean, that has already happened.
To the 15?
To my daughter, yes, who's 15. I wasn't comfortable about it.
Okay.
For her to actually, she didn't actually come to me and say, I have a crush on this boy. It so happened that this year, on Valentine's Day, she received flowers. And I was traveling at the time, you know?
Yeah.
And she sends me a picture and she's like, you know, flowers and balloons and whatever. And she sent it to me and I was like, what is this?
What is going on?
But I acted cool.
Yeah.
You know, I acted like a cool mom, although it bothered me a bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's this? Is it for me? And she said, no, I received it from this boy at school. He likes me, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll talk to you about it when I get home.
Okay.
And basically, that's what I did. I asked him, who's this boy? You know, she explained it's whoever. Inside, I was screaming, though.
Yes.
You know, like, you know, that voice inside of you screaming like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Not my daughter, not yet. I've got a niece also who's in matric.
Okay.
And I always talk to them that it's better to wait, you know, than to get into relationships right now.
Yeah.
You have your books. You need to focus on your books. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen.
Yes.
Because I'd be lying. It happened to me as a teenager.
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I said it wouldn't happen. However, I advise them to say, if you can wait, then wait. You understand? It wouldn't help you to date someone right now. Then you're pregnant. Now you're a teenage mom, and now you have to look for a job. Maybe you can't even finish school.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
I mean, for me, I feel like then you've ruined your future. You know.
Yeah.
But I'm not that strict because it actually happened to me as well, where I became a mother very early. I mean, my 22-year-old. I'm not that old.
Okay, I get that. It's fine. I'll give it to you.
Yeah. So I had my son when I was still in school.
Okay.
Yeah.
High school or varsity?
No, varsity.
Oh, okay, okay. So now the topic on dating, right? I think you have a 22-year-old. So obviously now she's prone more to the dating world because I mean now she's old.
It's a he. Yeah.
He. So it's a boy.
Yes.
Okay, so now did you have the talk with him? Because I feel like it's so different with girls. Because I mean, the girls are the ones that carry the baby, but like, so it's like we always think, parents don't even talk to the guys like that because, I mean...
No, we do.
How did that go? Like, was it...
With boys, it's easy. Boys are more open,
Okay.
I mean, a boy would come to you at 7 years old and tell you, there's this girl I like in class, It starts like that. And then it continues as the years go by. They get to high school, and then the next thing they ask you, oh, there's this girl, maybe he's 13 at the time. And you say, that's how it started with my son. He would say, can I have money? I want to buy chocolate for this girl, and then you start giving money because you're just thinking it's harmless dating, right?
Yeah.
And then the next thing, they're really, really dating. There's this girl that they're really dating.
Yes.
And that's when you start telling them, you know what? You realize that the reality is here. You need to speak to them about protecting themselves because boys are different than girls. You have to start saying to them, you know what? You can say they have to abstain, but I mean, boys.
Yeah.
Boys. It's very tough to say that to them, but I'd really tried with my son to say, use protection. Always protect yourself. There's diseases out there, and you never know who you're meeting,
So it's interesting that I've never actually had a parent with a boy child and actually say that they've had that conversation. I was under the impression that, oh no, they just let the guys figure it out because there's less consequences for them if you think about it. But when you talk about having a strict mom and how hard it was to like speak to her, I mean, I wouldn't say my mom is strict, but obviously like it was hard to obviously now go to her and be like, okay, it's my first boyfriend. I feel like every time she has found out, it was because you saw something, or maybe I left my phone, you're like, Kemang, jabu, if it was like a jabu on the phone. So what advice on the whole strict parent thing would you give for a parent who's most probably going to watch this episode? Like, what would you say? Because I know they always say it's not easy letting go and seeing your child explore their sexuality, or even the idea of your child going on a date with a boy or a girl. Like, what would you say, or what has helped you loosen up a bit and be open to that idea happening, like whether it's at 15 or at 22?
Well, whether you like it or not, it's going to happen anyway. That's the first thought that I always have.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say to a strict parent, don't be strict. You have to be strict. You have to put those rules, in for a child to actually, live a certain life that you really want for them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you let them be, they're going to just do whatever be
they
reckless.
want.
So for me, I feel like you still have to be very strict. However, you still need to have that talk with your child to say, this is how life is like. If you don't do things right, this is how things will turn out.
Yes.
If you do things right, this is how your life will turn out.
Yes.
You always have to give advices, whether they take it or not. It's up to them. At the end of the day, you did what you had. You
did what you did. Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So they'll always choose whatever they want for themselves.
Yes.
But it's always best to talk to them so that they don't hear it from the outside world. Somebody will go out there and get the wrong information for that matter. And there's a lot of peer pressure as well, right?
Yes.
So as young people, you have a friend, and that friend will tell you wrong information that they got from maybe their parents even, But because you spoke to your child, you gave them the right advices, then you feel like you've done your job. Whether you are strict or not. Yes. That's what I always say, that I don't think I will ever stop being strict. But I will always want my kids to hear it from me first. Yes. Before they hear it from somebody else.
So then that would mean then you believe in gentle parenting.
I never actually thought about it that way. You think it's gentle parenting?
I mean, because you're open to the idea of even having that conversation with your kids, I believe it's gentle parenting. Because I think gentle parenting basically would mean that you are open to whatever your kids come to you about. But obviously, there's boundaries, and you obviously going to try put them in the correct, or help them by guiding their steps, whatever decision that they're making. Yeah. So with everything that you're saying, I'm taking that you do believe in gentle parenting. In as much as you're strict, there's still that aspect of like, I'm just going to allow you to be your own person.
Yeah, I'll give you a reason why I would say that I'm a gentle parent. And it recently happened. I was never a gentle parent until recently. Yes. I think last year. Yeah. My daughter went through depression and anxiety. And because I never spoke to her about certain things. You know, parenting a boy and a girl is different. Right?
Yes.
So my daughter went through anxiety and depression. And because I was strict, she was scared
To
talk to me
Yeah.
about what she was going through.
Mm.
And it actually nearly killed me when I found out that she's been going through this thing where, you know, she's even cutting herself. It was really painful, you know, to see that she couldn't even come to me and talk to me about anything. So we went through counseling, you know, and she's now better.
Yes.
I can happily say she's in a better place.
Space, yes.
Yes. So, and with that, I became more open to now keep my door open for her to come in and say, Mom, this is what I'm going through. And I ask the questions more as well.
Yeah.
What's going on in your life?
Yes.
You know, sometimes as parents, we forget to ask them,
Yes.
what's happening in your life? So who are the new friends? You know, what is going on at school?
Yeah.
And I couldn't notice the changes that were happening in her life because she's a brilliant child. Her schoolwork didn't change.
Yeah.
So I thought she's okay.
Yes.
But actually she had something that was brewing inside of her that she couldn't tell me about.
Yes.
Because for her, I was not open. So you have to always, as a strict parent, always try to also be very open-minded and speak to your child and ask questions.
Yes.
Because for us, it's like, you haven't done the dishes. You haven't cleaned the house. You haven't done this. You cannot date. You cannot,
Yes,
you know.
books
but we
first,
forget to actually say, how are you feeling? How are you really?
Yeah.
You know?
I'm so glad that you actually bring that up, the whole depression, anxiety, because I think the most common trend, I mean, like when I researched and watched videos of what people always say, even when I would go around campus, for example, and ask people like what do you feel like you find most difficult talking to your parents about? And the most common thing was anxiety and depression. And I think with me as well, I did go through a point where I was struggling with anxiety and I was going through depression because sometimes we feel like you guys as parents think our life is just going to school, coming home. But in the midst of going to school and coming home, there's so much that's also happening in between.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dealing with books, you're dealing with friends, dealing with boys. Because I mean, the inevitable happens. Like you start dating, and the boy breaks your heart. He was doing this with the mang kicho me. I can't even go to my mom about it because like, why are you even focusing on that? You're supposed to be focusing on books. So now on the topic of depression, how did, like you said, you were devastated, but like, was it easy or were you willing to take the step to say, let's go to counseling immediately? Or was it something that you had to say, let me think about it? Like, am I willing to open up my home to this thing? Because now you don't know what the actual issue is. You have to sit down with the counselor to actually talk and actually hear what the problem is. And once you're afraid of what if she said the problem was you? Or what if she said, Mama, this happened, and that specific thing that happened, you were gonna look at her in a different way, like she was scared. Like, how did you now open up your mind to the idea of going to therapy? Because most Black parents are like, they don't believe in it. Most Black parents will be like, you're being dramatic. Go cry and you'll be fine. So how did you open up your mind to the idea of going to therapy?
For me, there was no two ways about it. We were going for counseling because I did ask her questions, but also I'm not a counselor. You know, there's only so much I can help her with. But,
yes.
And when I found out that she was going through this thing, I just told myself, there is no two ways that we need to find help for you. Because I can talk to you right now and tell you everything that you want to hear. Of course, she did say one of the things that she's struggling with is me, communicating to me, meaning that I was the issue. His father also, you know, was the issue. I mean, reality is the father is absent, you know. So I was dealing with it. It was facing me and me alone.
Yes.
And there is so much that I can do. I needed help, you know.
Yeah.
Luckily, I have a very good support structure, you know. And, you know, I spoke to my family, you know, I spoke to my partner about it, and we spoke to her about it. And it was tough. It was difficult. But when we spoke about it, we said she needs to go for counseling.
Yes.
And that was the only way that we're going to get help. The one thing, again, that, the company that I work for has taught me is you need to be your authentic self.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
I also opened up to my manager about it. And I told him that, this is what I'm going through at home.
Yeah.
I'm not doing well. We have this thing at work where when you start a meeting, you talk about mind, what is in your mind, what is in your hands, what is in your heart. And on that day, I did speak about my heart. And I said, in my heart, I'm sad because my daughter is going through anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
So then I opened up to my team about it and we spoke about it. And my manager said, no, you're not the only one, And other people also opened up and said, I'm also going through this. And then luckily we have a support of ICAS at work.
Yes.
And they said, I called them and they said, we will help you. And that's how my daughter started counseling.
Yes. It's beautiful that your work has opened up a space to check in, because I think another thing I've noticed is that most Black parents are afraid of therapy because the judgment behind it.
Yeah.
Because immediately when you say, oh, me and my daughter are going to therapy, it's like seen as a bad thing. Like, what's happening in your household? So what has that, that whole experience, what has it taught you? And are you glad actually that it happened? Because I'm assuming now you guys are in a healthy space together in your relationship as well. Yes. Yeah.
No, I'm very happy that it happened. I wouldn't want her to do it again, though,
Yes.
But it has made us closer than before. I see a different daughter altogether, from what she was before, that she used to close herself in her room and not talk to anyone. I would even ask her, are you okay? She never watched TV with us. But now I see if I'm working at home, I'm sitting there working in the dining room, she will come also and study, next to me.
Yeah.
And that's something that would never happen. I see her cooking, I see her doing this and that, So I'm happy that it happened because it has brought us closer. And at first, it's not an easy thing. At first, it was a shame for me because I was scared that, when my friends find out or other family members find out that she went through this, she was cutting herself, then, they're going to think I'm a bad parent. I judged myself first, I did judge myself and I felt like I'm a horrible parent because I couldn't see it before it got to a stage where it got to. I didn't see the signs. I didn't see anything. I blamed myself. I cried myself to sleep. But now, because she's healed herself and she's open to talk to her friends at netball, even her coach came to me and said, Olesedi has opened up so much about herself that other girls are also coming out to show that this is what they're also going through.
Wow, yeah.
So she's becoming like an inspiration
to others,
because she's open and talking about. So she's inspires me as well as a parent to say that I'm proud of my daughter. No matter what she went through, but I'm really proud of her.
Yeah.
So for me, that's where we are.
No, that's beautiful, actually. That's very beautiful because I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah.
And a lot of parents struggle with understanding the bigger picture and seeing the bigger outcome out of it. So it's beautiful that you actually took the steps to build that relationship and help her get to herself and know herself better and deal with her emotions. Yes. So, no, that is beautiful. I applaud you for that because the most common trend with anxiety and depression is not being able to go to therapy with your parents. Yeah. So I hope parents, after watching this, they actually open up their minds to the idea of it. Yeah. Because, anxiety and depression is a very serious thing. And I don't think it's taken as seriously in Black homes because of the stigma, like you said. And as a parent, you judge yourself like, if someone finds out about this, maybe my friends, like you said, or a family member, it's like you're a bad parent. So
if I can add to that also, I think when a child is going through depression and anxiety, right, we always want to take the child to therapy. But we forget as a parent, you also need it. Yes. It's hard for you as well.
Yes.
For you to be a good parent, you also need help.
Yeah.
Of others, of counseling, whatever it may be, of, whatever, maybe go to church if some believe in going to church and praying or talking to a pastor. That support is needed. So you also need some kind of counseling as a parent to deal with what your child is going through.
Yeah.
And to not also blame yourself, for what your child has gone through.
Yes.
So it's very important to also take yourself there.
Yeah. Okay, and then great that you mentioned the church. I believe you're a Christian and you've raised, did you give your kids an option to actually decide if they believe in Christ? Like they spirituality actually. Did you give them the option to actually explore it on their own? Or did you sort of say, let me raise you in the church? Maybe at a certain age, I'll give you the freedom to actually say, Ish, mama, I don't think I like this.
So I don't force my children to go to church. Because growing up, I also didn't like being forced to go to church, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I did go. I didn't, because I didn't have a voice to say I don't want to go there.
Yes.
But one thing I do is once a week, me and my children, we pray together. They might be praying when we pray for food, but once a week, they know that I will pray over them. Whatever it might be, I'm praying over them for the week ahead, to say that let this week be a blessed week. So I'm not giving them a choice in that. It's my house. It's what we believe in.
Yeah.
And it's what I believe that the protection, we will get the protection from.
Yes.
So, yeah, as your question has
it's
said.
Been answered.
Yeah.
It's been answered, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So then when you move on to spirituality, raising your kids under, in the word, in the sense of, I believe any problem that you face, you always have to open up the word and see what it says first, right? Do you think your faith is strong enough to trust that whatever decision your kids make, it's God's will over their life? Because ultimately, I believe you can correct me if I'm wrong, or if you want to add on to it, or maybe give me a different perspective. I believe there's no right or wrong. It's the faith that you have in knowing that God's going to see you through it. So, for example, if your child woke up today and said, Mom, I don't think I can finish my degree right now, but I have a plan. It's going to take time to execute it, but I don't think I'm mentally fit to finish my degree. And they're telling you they have a plan. But now it's society, I feel like society is constructed in such a way that says you need to have a degree in order to be successful in anything that you do. So now that your child has taken this decision, what would you do in terms of, would you trust that, whatever decision that they're making, God will see them through? Or you're going to say, you need to push and get the degree? Because now that's where the aspect of mental health comes in. Because now it's you're doing something and you're not doing it for yourself. Now you're just doing it because your mom told you to do it. And I think that's also another thing that contributes to your mental health as a child, figuring out and getting your degree and just figuring out life in general. So how would you handle that whole situation at large?
Okay. Firstly, I'm going to say that I believe that everything that happens in life is the will of God. That's my first thing. I believe that even the situation that happened with my daughter, I think it was the will of God.
Yes.
I mean, sometimes we want things to happen to other people, not to us. So I always say, if not me, then who?
Yes.
So I had to go on my knees and pray and say, Father, this happened. Thank you for it happening because it opened my eyes, right? And then secondly, when it comes, it's good that you asked me this question because my son is going through what you just said. He is I think he's finding himself.
Yeah.
And it's okay, for him to find himself and say, I don't want to go to school right now.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. But what is your plan, like you said?
Yes.
I just don't want you to tell me that I don't want to study, but you don't have a plan.
Yes.
You need to have a plan. That I cannot accept, You understand?
Yeah.
So I'm letting him find himself, but I'm pushing him to have a plan. I just don't want you to sit around and say,
At
hey,
home, yeah.
I'm just sitting. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yes.
And I'm just going to sit.
Yeah.
That life doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, he's a man right now. And as a man, you have to make sure you have a plan.
Yes.
Which woman is going to accept you without a plan?
Yes.
I mean, women want a man with a plan.
Yeah. That's very true.
So I really want him not to be dependent on any woman. I want him to stand on his 2 feet and say, I'm a man. And be able to say, I'm a man. And I will stand for myself. Yes.
Do you think it's different for a girl? I don't want to say girls don't need to have a plan, but it's sort of it sort of shifts now. Do you see now the gender roles now just shift? Because
imagine me if I didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
Raising 3 kids by myself. I have no support from the dad. Nothing, zero. And when I say support, I mean financial support. Emotional support is something else.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I have zero financial support. Imagine if I didn't have a plan. What would happen to these kids? The plans that I have for them to have a better life than I did, to go to the better schools than the ones I went to, I wouldn't be able to do that for them. We wouldn't be staying where we're staying right now, because then maybe I'll be now a burden to my mom because I didn't have a plan. I didn't go to school. You know,
Yes.
you always have to have a plan. Whether you're a girl or a boy, you always have to have dreams all the time.
Yes.
And when you have dreams, the mind is a powerful thing. I remember when I was 19, I was dating a guy, right? And it was my first time here in Pretoria.
Yes.
And I remember when I broke up with him at 19, he showed me Pretoria. He's the one who introduced me to Pretoria, showed me around.
Yes, yes.
You know,
yes,
a lovely guy. And I broke up with him that year. And his friends, family were very angry at me. But you know why I broke up with him?
Why?
I had a plan for my life. I saw my future. I already knew that at 23 I'll be driving. I'll be working. And I didn't see that with him. I actually had a vision where I saw him driving my car, dropping me to school, to work. And he went back to roam around the streets with my car. And that's the reason why I broke up with him. And now I understood why I had to break up with him.
Yes.
Because he didn't fit into my dream of succeeding and being somebody in life.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're on that navigating 20s. It's not easy. The most difficult thing ever. Dating advice. Where do we start? What would you say? Because I think the biggest thing now that most 20-year-olds struggle with is the guys that come to you are either old and it's hidden from you, but also it's just like, for example, I find it hard to date people around my age brackets in the way of maybe, let's say, 5 years up is what I feel like aligns with me best because of where, like you had said, where you see your future, like your mind and how your mind works. So, but like, it becomes a bit challenging because relation is something else. Now we don't relate to the same things because in as much as I'm mature and I have dreams and aspirations and I'm working hard towards that goal, it's now like the translation is just different. But the translation isn't younger guys who are actually at your age, but now it's like dating them is hard. So like, what is like the one advice you'd give your daughter? For like your 22, like your daughter, she's going to be 20, 22, 25. Like, what would you say to her when it comes to dating? Because I think girls are very emotional and dating heartbreak can change a lot. It can distract you from a lot. So like, what's that one advice that you'd give your daughter when it comes to dating, especially like in their 20s? Because I think that's when it's hard. It's hard.
And now it's even harder.
Yes.
You know, where we are right now, it's even harder. Men don't want to commit. Women don't want to commit. You know, we're just dating for fun. We're dating for sex. That's all it is. Like somebody meets you and that's all they want to do. They just want to sleep with you and that's it.
Yes.
So I think the most important thing, I wouldn't advise you to date somebody older. because they've been through life. And when I say older, you're 20. I mean, dating a 35-year-old, 40-year-old, you're still a child. Yeah, you know nothing. And they're just gonna abuse you, take advantage of you because you don't know nothing about life. You haven't experienced life.
Yes.
You still need to date people your age, and get to know how things work, in terms of dating. What do you like? You don't even know what you like. You might think, oh, I love tall, dark, and handsome. But actually,
you don't.
You don't.
You don't. I get that.
Yes. So I think figure yourself out first. Find out what you really like. And I always say, the father of my child, we were very young. I was 19. I think I was 20 when I had him. And just stop calculating. No, I'm telling you.
No, I'm not gonna calculate. I'm not actually even there. I'm not there.
I think I was 20 when I had him, and he's 5 years older than me.
Okay.
The one thing I liked about him is that he inspired me to study. I was still in school. He was already working at the time.
Yes.
And I remember he would come to me sometimes when I'm sleeping and would say, "Hey, you're sleeping. Your peers are reading. You're going to fail." And that was even though it didn't work out between me and him, but I always remember him,
For that. Yes.
That I wouldn't have been able to achieve the things that I've achieved in terms of my studies if it wasn't for him. Even though we had a child early, but I made something out of myself.
Yes.
Because he was there encouraging me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say that always look for the type of guy that, is in sync with you in terms of the goals that you want to achieve.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then what do you think is like a decent age gap? Let's say you're 21.
You're asking the wrong person. I'll tell you why.
Why?
I've always had a 5-year
5-year gap, like a 5-year limit. Okay.
I can't. My friend was laughing at me one time, and and she said there's this, I think about 60-year-old guy who liked me. And I said, yo. And she's like, you're old as well. And I was like, I always had that limit that, 5, I can do maybe up to 10. Now 10 is taking it too far for me.
It does sound a bit.
It's 10, like pushing it really for me. Like it's like pushing.
Yeah.
Younger, it's something else as well for me.
Yes, it's something else. That's true. Especially now that you say it now, like the dating pool in general, it's something else. So imagine going younger. I understand that.
How? It's like taking from other people's now.
No, I just I can
younger
understand
people
what you
like
mean.
taking from them.
Yes. And then on the topic of dating, relationships, parents, sex. That's a conversation that you need to have. I feel like most Black parents don't have those conversations. I never got the talk. I've never actually sat down and my parents said, okay, this is what it is. This is how it happens. If you do this is what's going to happen. I feel like I was in a generation where we were so advanced beyond our age. Like we found out things, seeing it from people maybe let's say I'm in grade 6 and you're in grade 10 and you're pregnant. And then you wonder like, oh my gosh, like you're having a baby. How did this happen? And people or parents actually think at school, my school, they didn't really go into the nitty gritty for you guys. Like they didn't actually tell us this is sex, this is how it is. Like that topic was uncomfortable. And I worry, especially because I have a sister, she's 13. So also obviously worry, like, do they actually have those conversations with them? Because I don't remember getting in class and my teacher saying, this is what this is. So,
oh, wow. I always thought they do.
Oh no.
Wow. I've never actually also said with my kids, I'm owning up to this now.
Yes.
I've actually never sat with them and said, oh, this is a penis, this is a vagina, and this is how they get together. And I've never done that. I always thought they do it at school.
Oh no.
I left the responsibility with the school.
With the teachers. Oh no. Yeah. I can promise you.
And I guess we are wrong. Finding out from you that
happen.
your school never did it, I guess we assume that it's being done, but I guess not.
I think it's maybe because they think it is an uncomfortable topic. It's very weird.
It is.
But I think now 13-year-olds are getting pregnant.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, obviously, as I can't say everybody, but I mean, when I was in high school, the people in my grade getting pregnant or grade like up, maybe like a grade 11, if I was in grade 10, like a grade 11 getting pregnant. And it's like, you wonder, like, did your parents not have that conversation? And it's so hard to even say it was a mistake because I mean, now that you know what happens and what it's done, it's like, your parents should have had that conversation with you because I mean, like, you would understand the consequences.
Exactly. It's very important to have those topics. It's very important, I believe, because it's sad to see a 13-year-old having a child.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's not easy parenting. So imagine being a 13-year-old, having to be a parent. Now you lose out all your teenage years.
Yeah.
Because you can't play anymore. You can't, go out to movies with your friends anymore. Every time, especially when you have parents who would say, you need to look after your child. You can't go there. You need to. I was very lucky. I was young as well. You know, like having a child at 20 is not like you are old. You are still young.
You're still young.
You know, and I was very lucky to have a supportive mother who said, "I'm taking this responsibility and I'm raising this child. Go back to school."
Yes.
And I always applaud my mom for that because then I was able to be something. Otherwise, I would have been working, in maybe retail, or I'm not saying retail is a bad job, but I'm saying not earning much in places where I wouldn't be earning much to be able to live the life I'm living right now. So it's very important to talk to your children about it. Yeah.
Yes. So then how do you actually manage to understand or know what's going on in your kids' social life without making them feel like you're intruding? Because I mean, that also comes with having the talk because of the wild things that happen in your teenage, early 20s years. So now how do you now sit down and able to see what they're doing or have an understanding of what they're doing without making them feel like you're invading their privacy or like their space?
There is no way of not invading their privacy or space for you to get that information. I mean, you have to ask questions. Directly so. Like you have to ask, are you having sex?
Yeah.
If you are, you need to tell me because I don't want to be surprised. That's what I always tell my daughter.
Yeah.
I need to know.
Yes.
So that I can be prepared for it. Otherwise, then you're going to surprise me. And then the next thing, there's a baby and then,
What now?
What now?
Yes.
What's going to happen to your future? But the thing is, you teenagers as well, you always say, no, mom, I'm not doing that. I have this covered. You act like you know everything. That's another issue.
I think sometimes it's not even that I have it covered. I think it's more of like a respect thing. I can't imagine saying, yes, mom, I'm having sex. It sounds... But I understand. You see, this is where now
So, and then what do you want? Do you want us to talk to you or you don't want us to talk to you? Because then if I talk to you, I want you to be open with me, right? And then if I don't talk to you, you would blame me and say, but mom, you're not talking to me.
Give me the space to come tell
you
you
want
that
us to talk to you, but at the same time, you hold him back. You don't want to reveal much.
So then wouldn't that mean then automatically I would assume then you have to have the conversation? Because I mean, if my parents have sat me down and said, this is what happens, because I mean, you also haven't, I think you can see sometimes that, okay, she's probably dating, and dating obviously comes with that. So obviously that would mean if you can see that she's actually starting to see a guy, you would see like the trend, she's always on her phone, texting, whatever. And then you'd be like, actually, what are you, I don't know, you're dating, okay. Do you guys go out? Like make it a casual conversation. Don't just, hey, are you having sex? Like, try and make it like casual.
You cannot go in like that, You have to ask, Horakante, what do you do when you go out on dates? Right? You have to ask the right questions. I think that's the easiest way of doing it.
Yeah.
Just ask the right questions. Kanti, what do you do when you go out on dates?
Yes.
And where do they go? It's also very important to know where they go.
Yes.
I mean, are they going on dates to the guy's place that then
Yeah.
You understand? Yes. Or are they just going to the mall where you drop her off? But also there, things can happen. you
True,
know?
true.
So I think you need to be aware of what they are doing at all times. I think it's very important to ask your child, "Hore, where are you going? With who? What are you guys doing?" Have that
Yes.
conversation and then take it from there.
Yeah,
It's difficult, I know. I mean, I'm sitting here saying these things, but I know it's difficult.
It really is difficult.
It's difficult.
And then we're almost done, but I wanted to know, like, for any new parent, like, what advice would you give them when it comes to raising teenagers and helping them navigate and figure themselves out and find their feet into this world? Because I always say the purpose of a parent is generally just to help you find your feet, to be your own person outside of them. Yeah, so because I know most parents are holding like when you're 25 and you're still holding my hand. It's like you struggle like separating yourself and let go. And you sometimes, I mean, most people, I was having a conversation. She's 28 and she's like, my mom is still like holding me hostage, like in her kid. It's like I'm really trying to be my own person. I'm not saying I don't want to be your daughter. I'm not gonna need your help, but I'm saying like, what advice would you give a parent just to slowly let go? I'm not saying with full force and let me be rebellious, but like slowly let go and allow your daughter or your son to become their own person.
I would say that, I don't mind a parent still holding on when the child is still in high school. But when they transition to varsity, after 18, you need to try and let go. I know you love your child, but try and let go and let them go live their life. You've taught them the right things.
Yeah.
You need to trust
Yes.
that you've given them the right tools to go out there and they do right by you.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So I would advise the parents to definitely try and let go and let the child live, because sometimes we try, as parents, we try and live our lives through our children, which is very wrong. You cannot do that. You have to let go. Let them make their own mistakes.
No matter how hard it is for you as a parent.
Yeah, and they might repeat your own mistakes. You understand? But you have to know, they will come back as well. You manage to come back as a parent, right? And be a parent and do right.
And be where you are today.
And be where you are today.
Yes.
So you need to also trust the process. And trust God, He'll also bring them back and they'll also be, where you want them to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then for us, or for someone out there who's watching that feels like they're going through such like a very hard mental journey and it's kind of hard finding refuge in their parents, what would you say to them? Because I can't even say like what you must go to your mom and say, because some kids feel like they're not heard, or like their voices are often turned down because it's an uncomfortable space to get into. But reality is it happens. Suicide is real, especially people our age. I always say we're the Gen Zs, especially millennials, we're very emotional people. And if you're not able to talk about it and actually get the help that you need, because I mean, like in this day and age, you can't even talk to friends, because you're going to talk to that friend and you find that friend is mocking you because of you going through this. Like you don't even know who your friends are because that's what you're going through. It's in your face. And I mean, ideally, the only place you'd want to run to is your mom. But now you can't even run to your mom because you know that's a conversation she's not willing to have. Okay. She's not going to hear you. Like, what would you say?
There is always another adult close by that you can always talk to. I mean, you cannot be alone in this world. There'll always be that one adult, whether it's an auntie or a close relative or your mother's friend. There'll always be somebody there who you can be open with and talk to.
Yes.
And the one thing that you always must remember as a teenager or as a young adult is that you are never alone. It doesn't matter what the situation is. Somebody else has gone through what you're going through right now.
Yes.
And you can get through it. We also have went through the same issues that you're going through. Yeah. Times might be different, whereby there's social media, there's TVs, there's this. But we also went through those issues.
Yeah.
But there was always, if you can't talk to your parent, there'll always be another adult who's willing to listen to you.
Yeah.
And help you.
Yes.
You know, if they need to speak to your parent to tell them what you're going through, they'll be able to do that for you.
Yes.
So never think that you're alone and resort to suicide or resort to cutting yourself or resort to not, just hiding yourself in your room.
Yes.
There'll always be somebody there to help you.
Yes.
Always.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I think you gained perspective. It's always nice to see like another parent actually take the steps to be closer and better the relationship they have with their kids. And I hope the parents watching this with their daughter, their son, can actually get encouragement to do so, because it happens a lot. You'd be so shocked at how many kids are dying inside because they just can't go to their parents and say, I need help. So thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. This is probably going to be my favorite episode. And I hope everyone watching... I hope everyone watching enjoyed this episode. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us at Mindful Unfoldings on TikTok and Instagram, and follow Busang Studios on Instagram and on YouTube. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Thank you.
It's wrap.